Hi everybody, Blaster here, and I'm going to talk about the 6.82 changelog. So first things first is the fountain. Sorry, fountain area is now a higher elevation. Fountain was increased from 1400 to 1800. Fountain attack range is 100 higher, and the fountain true sight, is increased by 300. This means that now its range is equal to its true sight, and there's less fountain diving. It's harder to do that, even as an Invis hero. Let's see. We worked the terrain around Roshan area. I'm just going to show you through the pictures. This looks like the bounty rune here being shown as well. So you can see Roshan got moved a little bit to the right. This looks like it actually is going to take a little bit away from the Dyer's advantage of Rosh. Not significantly. I don't think they have the advantage here. It's going to have to play out though. Really, you get to see how it does. Also, ancient camps are now moves ever so slightly further back. So it's a bit harder for you to stack them if you're offlaning. So there's that. Let's see. More paths through the secret shop. So more juking, more hiding. Easier access for offlane. No, not too much though. Also, offlane on Radiant. Easier access to the secret shop. Looks like they just showed like a little new rune spot into the or rune spot for Radiant offlane once you get set tier 2. New hiding spots and juking areas here, so it's actually a lot more difficult for your dire offlaner to actually survive here if you do solo offlane. It looks like you can actually do a full loop now in this area instead of just the whole go in and then be stuck unless you eat a tree. Alright. Also, bounty rune being added in. So what this does is it grants you 50 XP at once and 50 gold, and then over time, every minute you'll get 5 more XP and 2 more gold. And I believe that this does stack. So if you get another rune, it'll be 10 XP per minute and then 4 gold per minute. So it will stack, so it does help your carries out late game. Alright, so now a rune will spawn top and bottom each and every time, and if the rune's not picked up, it will be swapped. So if you even have a bottle, you're going to want to have to get it. Also, denied creeps are giving less experience. Instead of 36 per denied creep, it's now 50%. So in lane, that's 31 XP that you can, extra XP you can take away. So that's quite significant if you can do that more than once. Alright. I'm just going to tell you exactly what this means. I mean, it's kind of hard for you to get actual numbers, but without me plugging in actual numbers. But essentially, the old one and the new, difference between the old and new is that it's a handicap system. In other words, if you're behind, it's harder for you to get even further behind, but it's a lot easier for you to catch up. That's what these essentially mean. So if you're ahead, the amount of XP and gold you typically get is actually a little bit lower. And then if you're behind, then the gold and XP you're going to get is going to be amplified. So it makes comebacks more likely. And from what I can understand from this patch notes, it's kind of to like make games go on longer. So from a spectator's standpoint, this is going to be good, which is Valve really wants right now. It's not going to be those pushing strategies because they are less viable. Especially because you want the gold from there. Ratting it out, still probably going to happen. But pushing strats, not as viable. You're going to look for those team fight oriented strats nowadays. And possibly late game. So Medusa, even though she's not picked up a whole lot in the pro scene, she might. Heroes like Medusa, Spectra, Anti-Mage, you might be seeing those heroes more often. Those late game fighters. Because that looks like what you kind of have to go for here actually. Especially with glyph fortifications being up every time it was in tier 1. Tier 2s have 5 more armor. And Tower's bounty gold has been really, really heavily decreased. I mean, 160, that's almost what it was when you denied it. I mean, so you lose 100 gold for tier 1 now. 112 for tier 2. 100, yeah. And this looks more like OCD. I mean, it really does when you think about it. It's decreased it, but also like made it pretty numbers with zeros at the end. Also, in Captain's mode, the third band phase is swapped. What I believe, if I remember right, is that it's going to be like, so if we start at Radiant, it's going to be Radiant band, Dire band, Radiant. Alright, now all pick and rank match. Now it's kind of like Captain's mode in a way. In other words, each team takes time, they talk about it, and then each team has it swapped back and forth. If you take too long, you'll start losing 2 gold per each player that has not picked. And once one person makes a selection, it switches over to their team. There might be some glitches with this where, like, if 2 people pick at the exact same time, they might both get their hero. I don't know. Also, you don't know who your team is at the start. You gotta wait a little bit. No, so that way during the load screen, when you're seeing who still hasn't loaded in, who's just using this game in general, you're not gonna know who's on your team. But once you get the strategizing time, then you'll know. I don't know why they did this. It doesn't make much sense to me, but okay. Let's see. And if you take longer than 30 seconds, then one person on your team randomly gets assigned a hero. Aegis duration increased from 6 minutes to 5, so that's a nerf to your Aegis. Roshan Slam area effect increased from 250 to 350. Roshan Slam damage increased by 20 every 4 minutes now. So, yeah, Roshan's getting a lot more difficult. It's just been nerfed entirely. I mean, for the player. Roshan's getting buffs. Everybody else is getting nerfed against him. Centaur Congress Swiftness Aura has been moved to Hellbore Smasher. So all these times that you're seeing here for Centaur and Hellbear, it's just being changed to fit the whole Swiftness Aura being changed. Dark Troll Summoners Ensnare increased by another 2.25 seconds. Nothing too big, but a little buff helps, I feel. Satyr Banisher HP increased from 240 to 300. Satyr Banisher movement speed increased from 300 to 330. Alright, stream's still going. Let's see. Satyr Banisher attack range reduced from 600 to 300. Satyr Banisher base attack time improved from 1.8 to 1.7. Satyr Banisher Purge cast range increased from 200 to 350. And while Ring Tripper Toughness Aura now works on siege units. So this is a buff to pretty much Enchantress, Chen, and any hero that's going to use Hello Dominator. And a little boost to do for whatever creepy devours under his effects. Let's see, and fix some rare edge cases where pathing with mousing mix functions. So essentially, that's just going to help your heroes from spazzing out, trying to find a path to go when he's just sitting there and going back and forth. So that's good. And now you can use Ice Armor, Surge, Clarity, Nature's Guise, Chakra Magic, Recall, and Mist Coil on Magic Immune allies. But I feel like they should add a Test of Faith to this as well. Because people can get screwed over if they, like, Juggernaut spins, that way it doesn't get bursted down while it's going on. Well, shoot. He's dead still because he blocked his own thing. Alright, the flying buffs are now properly dispelled. Chilling Touch, Thunder Strike, Inner Vitality, Clarity, Chaos Meteor, Shadow Word, Liquid Fire, Shadow Strike, Warcry, Concussive Shot, Overpower, Mana Leak, Curse of the Silent, Breasty Attack, Poison Touch, Flame Guard, Rolling Death, okay. Viper's Poison Attack, Sticky Napalm, DK's Frost Breath, Rolling Axes, and Wallace Punch. So essentially, the Fusel Blade, Tornado, and Yule Scepter will dispel these now, where it's dispels them off you or off your enemy, depending on what it is. And Dark Pact, Kraken Shield, Affleck Shield, Pressy Attack, Time Lapse Nova has special conditions for purging the following. Otherwise approachable spells: Poison Nova, Heaven Talbot, and Snare IF Scotty Slow. So it won't remove these abilities now, which I feel like it should. Dark Pact should remove the Heaven Talbot still and the Scotty Slow. Let's get into the heroes. Sorry, I'm a little sick today. Abaddon is core mana cost rescaled, so it's essentially a buff until the last level, which is nice for this underrated hero. Alchemist gets a slight negative armor increase from his acid spray by 1 on each level. Anti-mage base strength increase from 20 to 22, so a little buff to him. And this is, like I said, them trying to bring back the whole carries late game. Counter Helix has gotten stronger. It's increased to 20% instead of 17, but Calling Blade no longer goes through Lincoln Sphere, which I feel is the way it should have been all along. So this is a perfectly good rebalance on him. Let's see. Agnon's Scepter Fades Grip also now causes anyone who attacks Bane while he is channeling to be afflicted with Nightmare. So nice little buff to Bane. And I always don't right-click this in a hero. I don't know if it's going to be before or after the attack hits for the whole Nightmare, but either way, it's still a nice buff. Let's see, Flaming Lasso cooldown increased from 90-70-50 to 90-75-60, so unnerfed to Batrider. This hero is becoming less and less viable. He's still a good hero, but his offlane was heavily nerfed due to the fact that he can no longer go into the jungle as effectively. He can still do it, but it's a bit harder for him. And now Flaming Lasso getting a little nerf as well. I mean, 5 and 10 seconds, that may not seem like much, but it's... in Dota, seconds really matter. Let's see. Wild Axe is being buffed to physical, so now they'll do a higher percent of their damage, but at the same time, their damage is being reduced by about 20 on all levels? Yeah, 20 on levels. Power Side Knock Radius increased from 250 to 300, so nice little buff to his ult. And also it does the same damage as it does the initial person, which is actually pretty nice. Prior push distance increased from 240 to 300, so it pushes even further away. And prior side push duration is increased by 0.2 seconds. And like I said, seconds matter here, even milliseconds. So all in all, nice little overall buff to this hero. Bloodseeker removed from Captain's mode, and his base move speed is 10 lower, and Blood Rage no longer deals damage over time. It actually amplifies the damage you take and the damage you do. So it's still viable to cast on others, but it's not as good as it used to be. It's not as powerful. I feel like they're going to need to buff this in the future. But this is damage to him back to himself and to his enemies. Let's see. Also replace Bloodbath with Blood Right. Targets an area, an effect that is visible to enemies appear on the ground after seconds. Enemies in the area are damaged and silenced. Alright, so silence only 6 seconds. That's not really good. I really don't like it, but the damage is pure. But it's only 240. I feel like they're gonna need to. I feel like they're gonna buff this as well. Thirst visibility overall a nerf because it's stronger against invis units, but otherwise weaker everything else. Now thirst only scales with HP, meaning it gradually provides the bonus from 0 at 100%, which makes no sense, seeing as they follow up by saying they don't get any bonus till it's at 30 or 30%. So I don't know why they even bother saying this. Let's see. Previously it provided a full bonus at 50% and nothing above it. Rupture no longer deals initial damage, so you can't like just, if somebody is low and they're not moving, you can't just rupture them and kill them. You gotta have them move as well. Rupture duration increased from 7, 8, 9 to 12, and then rupture cooldown reduced from 70, 60, 50 to 60. So it's a buff at the initial level and a nerf at the next level, at the final level. Strickland Toss now bounces to all track units within a 900 AoE. So this is actually a nice little buff to him. So you can may stun multiple units now. So you can track one through shooting at the other, and it'll bounce that tracked unit. Drunken Blower's critical strike evasion time increased from 10, or rescale I should say, to 16, 14, 12, 10 seconds. So now, to get that where it's a guaranteed crit or evasion, you got to go 10 second, you have to go longer without hitting anything or without getting hit. Broodmother getting a little nerf here, which is not something she really needs. She needed a buff, I feel. Spinweb now uses charges, and you have to wait 40 seconds for one to be replenished. Spinweb enter hidden mode is increased by another 3 seconds. So, and Spinweb move speed bonus is doubled though whenever Broodmother is hidden mode, having not taken damage recently. Spin web phasing and speed boost now working on spiralings. Spin webs are now selectable and have the ability to destroy themselves, which makes sense. If you don't want to destroy a certain web, then you can just like trigger another one so we don't destroy like the first one you laid down if you want to keep that for whatever reason. Spin web can be cast globally as long as it connects to another web that exists, it looks like. And wherever it's taken out spin web's repathing, she destroys nearby trees. Okay. Overall, this hero got nerfed though. Stampede costs an extra 20 mana now. But Chaos Knight getting a buff here. His illusions now last for another 10 seconds. And if you don't know about this with Chaos Knight, his illusions do full damage and they only take double damage. So, they still only take the stats for add stat damage, but other than that, they do full damage. So the crits that they can do is full. Everything about them. Also, Penance duration kind of being a little nerfed here at the early levels. Buff at the last level though. By a second. Penance slowing damage can bounce from 8, 16, 24, 32. So at the first two levels it's buffed, and in the last two levels it's nerfed. Penance now amplifies the damage source directly instead of attempting to real deal a percent of the damage taken as physical damage. Or I didn't know that was partially taken as physical damage. Penance cast range is increased by 200. Holy Persuasion is no longer restricted from targeting spell immune neutral creeps. So you can actually target like mud golems and ancients now. Wow. That's actually really good. I mean, mud golems not too great, but nobody likes mud golems. But ancients, you can take those now. So imagine taking like an ancient at level 1. You can get some good farm with that ancient. Let's see, Scepter now allows Holy Persuasion to target ancient creeps. Oh, never mind. So you need Aghanim Scepter to do this, darn. Oh well. Searing Arrows is no longer an attack modifier, so now Lifesteal and Scotty are viable on this hero, which is really nice. Hookshot now pulls Clockwork to neutral creeps, so slight nerf and buff depending on what you want. It sucks when you're ganking, but other than that, it's a buff. It helps for your getaway. Frostbite damage can roll from 70 per 1 second to 50 per 0.5 seconds, so it's actually a lot better on her because now it does more damage. It lasts the same amount of time, but does more damage. And Freezing Field Explosion has a 20 radius increase. I feel like that's just like an ODC buff, OCD. Vacuum cooldown rescreen from 28 seconds. What? And we got an explanation for this? Because this little buff, or rescaled, makes no sense. Because it's the exact same timeline, isn't it? Is it? That makes no sense. That's definitely OCD. Right there. That's just 100% OCD right there. Aghanim Scepter Weaver, armor reduction per second increase from 1, 1.25, 1.5. So it gets a 0.25 on each level buff with Aghanims. To Prophet getting a nerf, sorry. Her ult now takes 20 seconds longer to cool down. Doom now requires Aghanim Scepter to heal passive, so counter Helix, and then Void's passive, his backtrack and his time lock. You need an Aghanim Scepter to block those, so huge nerf to this hero, huge nerf. Doom's ability to cast point increase from 0.3 to 0.5. Not a huge nerf on that area, but still pretty big. Frost Arrow is getting a buff at all levels but the last level, so now they slow you for even more. So a buff to a hero that really needs it, but 60 definitely don't need higher than that. I gotta add the Aghanim Scepter, grants Earth Spirit and ability, enchant Remnant, which lets him temporarily convert a hero into a stone Remnant. Converts an allied enemy, not self, it's stone. Target, he's like a stone Remnant fully until the duration, or when the duration ends, Remnant shatters, releasing the hero while dealing 200 damage in a 300 radius. The enchant remnant is like other remnants. They cannot do. They are infallible and can be used with his skills. Okay, if you can use this on your ally, it can be used for trolling like huge time. Granted, this hero can be used for trolling big time on anybody, anyways. I wonder like it deals damage to the hero that was inside of it as well, or just around them. I'm not quite sure. Force Smash unit targeting is now only selectable units. Force Smash point targeting now only knocks back the closest remnant within 200 area effect. And the direction selected. The cooldown for a bonus smash will not reset unless a unit is struck. Geometric grip silence rebalance from 2.345 to 2.5, 3.5, 4, so that's a nerf. Makes sense, this here is like very powerful though. Geometric grip rebalance from 100, 150, 250 to 50, so it's nerfed at the early levels, but the last level it's buffed. So remnant drop range increased from from 1400 to 1100. Fixed term remnants being unable to travel as projectiles through Chronosphere, so they can go through now the Chronosphere. Fixed term not appearing in Fog of War. Magnetized search radius increased from 300 to 400. Magnetized stone remnants disappear after 8 seconds to 5. Okay. Fisher no longer has unit targeting, so it's actually harder to land the stun now because you can't just click on someone. But it goes to Lincoln Sphere. That's huge. And an Agnum Scepter causes units that are pulled in by Earthspur to be disarmed in addition to being slowed. So there are slow disarmed duration increased from 345 to 456. Not sure if the durations increased without Scepter or just with it. Not quite sure. It's probably with it though. Natural order armor reduction increased from 25. So wow, this is huge. More people are gonna be getting this early on now because it's so huge that first level. That is a huge level 1 for natural order. That is huge. There's almost no reason not to get that. Yeah, there's almost no reason not to get this ability now early on. I mean, Astral Spirit and Natural Order, it's just so good, especially when lining up his ult. If you do the Echo Stomp as well. Base movement speed increased from 310 to 315, not that huge, but still good. Midnight Pulse being nerfed a bit, takes 10-second long cooldown. Black Hole max damage rebalanced. So Black Hole got nerfed at level 1, but buffed at level 3. Black Hole max damage area effect increased from 150 to 200. Black Hole min damage rebalanced from 30 to 30, 50, 70 to 25, 50, 75. So again, nerfed at level 1, but buffed at level 3. Black Hole mana cost rebalanced from 250, 350, 450. So again, this hero worse at the early levels, but stronger at the higher levels. So he's definitely got to be better in the late game. Chronosphere area effect reduced from 450 to 425. Chronosphere flying vision area reduced from 1000 to 425. Wow. Chronosphere no longer stable passives. Chronosphere effects no longer linger for an extra 0.5 seconds like you always do at the end of duration. So Faceless Void getting a huge nerf overall. Homing missile damage, maximum damage increased from 110 to 20. So not that huge at level 1, but at level 4 it's nerf 60 damage. Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, so at level 1 it's only an extra 15, but at level 4 it's an extra 60. So not too bad. Inner Vitality cooldown being reduced, so he's getting a nice little buff. Berserker's Blood attack speed increase. Yeah, this here's getting a huge buff overall. I mean, the final level of it's not a buff at all, but their levels, it's definitely a lot better. Life Break's cooldown just changed to 12 at all. Wow, these are huge buffs for him. But then Life Break's damage reduced from 50% to 35, but still 65% if you get the Agnum Scepter. Also, Life Break Soul damage, it's a buff at level 1, but again a nerf at level 3. Life Break Soul duration 4, 5, 6. So nerf level 1, and then last one is a buff. So like I said earlier, these buffs, nerfs, and changes are meant to be like late game. They're meant to be more noticeable at the late game. The changes are at the final levels. So again, they're trying to make these games go on longer, it looks like. Invoker Tornado Flying Vision area reduced from 1200 to 600. And by the way, self damage, yeah. Sorry, nerfed at level 1, buffed at level, yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Tornado damage from 2x plus quas. Two times wax plus quas to 3 times wax. Okay. Okay, so it's just based on your wax now. It's 3 times what wax you have. Alright then. Dual breath movement and attack slow rebounds from 30 to 28. So level 1 it's a nerf, but after that it's a buff. Which is really good. Let's see, so flying abilities no longer cancel Blade Fury, Chronosphere, Toss, Black Hole, Global Silence, and Doom. Doom getting nerfed overall. Blade Fury cooldown 30, 27. Okay, so other than level 1, it's a buff. Not huge buffs, but cooldowns are getting lower cooldowns are huge, especially with the 0. Mana leak, mana removal percentage increase from 3.5. So all those except the last one, it's a buff. Increased mana duration, and at all levels, it's just an extra second. Recall can now target invulnerable allies affected by Song of Siren. That's pretty nice. Nice little buff there. Blind Light shot and knockback distance from 250 to 400. Nice. And now Kunkka's X marks the spot being nerfed at level 1. But after that, it's a buff. Only by about 2 seconds at the final level, so it's not huge. Legion Commander is going to be in Captain's mode. No longer disables passives. Sorry, so don't want dual axe or tiny anymore. Overwhelming odds base damage from 60, so she's getting nerfed. Not hugely, but it's still noticeable. I mean, it's little things. Little things that, if I had this extra damage, really would have been nice. And press the attack mana cost rescale, so it's all levels, it's 110. Pulse Nova damage increased from 80, 120, 160 to 130, 160. That's the exact damage from 100, 160, 220 to 160, 190, 220. So final level is not that noticeable, but level 1 that's huge. If you ever get it level 1, if you're able to save it that much as a Leshrac, who's not very viable as a support, more as a core in the higher tier plays. Lich Ice Armor now slows range heroes for a full amount instead of half. Light Strike Array can cast range increase by 25. Not that huge, but still pretty nice. And Light Strike Array stun duration increased. So once the same, but in the final levels it's having 1.9 to 2.2, which isn't huge, but still something. Earth Spike damaged increased by 20 at level 1, and then let's see, 10 at level 2, and then final 2 levels it's the same. Spirit Burn now has 300 mana, so now you can use like Mjolnir. Let's see, whatever is there. I'm trying to think. Let's see, you have Mjolnir and Abyssal Blade. Huge buff to Lone Druid in general. And now the Spirit Bearer using Hand Mice will grant XP to Lone Druid, so that's good. Because used to be you have the Hand Mice on the Bear, and you don't get the XP bonus on Lone Druid, which would suck. Shapeshift no longer grants a 1.5 base attack time. Shapeshift getting a 20-second cooldown increase at each level, but it's faster, but you also have a 1.5 second transformation time. I'm not sure if this is going to be at the standard for 1.5 seconds, or you can keep moving. If you have to stand there, then he's dead. Like, it's going to be a lot harder for him to keep up or get away using it. And now it's a 40-second cooldown instead of 20-second after the duration's up at the final level. Empower is no longer removed by spell immunity like BKB, which is actually pretty nice, so you can use it on lifesteal if you need to, or Sven. Heroes like that you really want to give it to. Empower mana cost though, it's buffed at level 1, but after that's a nerf. Mana shield damage absorption rate increased from 50% to 60%. Like I said, late game heroes getting buffed, and it looks like they're trying to make these late game heroes usable, I should say, in the pro scene. Miss Snake, it's faster going out, but it's slower in return, but 167 faster going out and only 33 slower coming in. That's a huge buff. And then Mana Steal is buffed at all levels except level 1 by 5, 10, and then 15. Mill Clone, this is just more of a help you micro thing. Just boots are in the same slot. It's just easier micro. Nothing else. Leap speed is slower, and she also leaps. At level 1 it's nerfed, level 2 it's nerfed, but level 3 and 4 she leaps further. But it's easier to like land skill shots on her mid leap, like hook or light strike away or net. It's a bit easier now. Nature's Call Trait magic resistance is gone now. They have no magic resistance. Reaper Snipe as a respawn time penalty from 30 seconds to a constant 30 seconds. So almost all points during the game, this is going to be a buff. Night Stalker, one of my favorite heroes. His Hunter Knight attack speed increased from, alright, level 1's no change, but after that it's 5, then 10, then 15 as well, which I really like. And then Darkness is getting a nice buff as well, 15 seconds at level 1, 10 seconds at level 2, and then same at level 3. But this really makes the Darkness very viable during the first level. And seeing as they changed night and day from 6 minutes to 4 minutes each, this here, it really helps the hero. Base HP regeneration, wow. That is a huge buff to over Magi just right there. Increased by 2.25 HP regeneration. That is huge. But the Fire Blast damage being reduced at all levels, it's not huge, but still pretty good. Multicast 2 times is increased from 25% to 40%, 50% and 60%. So that's huge. So it means he's going to get that more often now. Multicast spread interval increase from 0.3 to 0.4. So in other words, Ignite, the stun stack better, essentially. You get better stun stacking, which is really nice. Omni-Knight gets an extra armor point, and his Purification does 20 more damage. Or effects, right. Purification goes 20 AoE out further. Essence Aura's chance is same to get you more mana, is same at all levels, so you just scale for the increased mana pool now. But you don't need it for the chance anymore, which is actually kind of nice, because now it might be viable to get your Arcane Orb at least 1 level into it earlier on. Essence Aura percentage of mana restored reduced from 25. Okay. So you get less mana at all levels except the last level, if it procs, but it procs more often at all levels but the last level. So I kind of like it. Adding Scepter Sand Eclipse now always triggers the manager. Oh man, that's painful. That is going to be painful. I can see Void and Anti-Mage just working together, because you're going to drain their mana's Outworld with the ult, and then Mana Void, and bam. Alright, Blur Minimap Hide has the opposite effect and is active when no enemies are near. So this makes her a better ganker if you have wards down. Well, you're not going to notice a Phantom Assassin unless you have a jungler or somebody in that area. So that's actually kind of nice, the way I thought it should have worked out all along. Kind of makes sense this way. Fan Lancer being removed from Captain's mode. His agility is getting a huge nerf. Instead of 4.2 level, it's 3. So let's see, 25 levels. He's losing 25 essentially, or more than that actually. He's losing 30 agility throughout the entire game, but his base agility is increased by 6, and his base strength is increased by 3. Spirit Lance Unchained. Phantom Rush passively from laser resolution to quickly close the distance to an enemy. Passive with cooldown triggers when issuing an attack order on an enemy inside the attack range. Grants bonus movement speed and phase until finish strikes. Oh, that's really nice. Okay, when I first heard about this, I thought it was going to be like Chaos Knight's Reality Rift, but it's actually pretty cool. Minimum trigger distance to trigger 300, maximum distance trigger 600, 800 cooldown. Scales from 16 to 4. Illusions will also have this passive. If the attack order on your target is cancelled, the speed bonus is lost. Okay. A new bit. Thought this ability. Let's see. Illusion deals 0% damage and takes 20%. Illusion 2 takes 20. Oh, so they make 2 illusions instead of just the 1. Okay. So his first illusion is tanky as he is, but the second one takes a lot more damage and deals very minimal. Illusions gather range 900. Oh, sorry about that. I just hit button. Let's see. This ability dodges upcoming projectiles. No allies can see which illusion takes 100% damage. Okay. Let's see. Jukebox now is ultimate and allows both Phantom Lancer and his illusions to create more illusions. Okay. Alright. So it's actually, he kind of got nerfed in ways. He got buffed some ways, but now is like a chance to increase illusions is kind of bad now. So he's less viable as a pusher, early on at least. Phoenix, acting Receptor, allows Phoenix to cast Supernova on an allied hero. Alright, so depending on what happens, this can be really good or really bad. If you have Tiny on your side or somebody with AoE stuns that can lock them down while you're in egg form, this will be really good. But it's also going to be used to save your allies. So this makes him a better support, I feel. But your allies got to defend 100 AoE. And if the sun dies, well, they're both destroyed then. Pudge getting a buff, his turn rate's now improved by 0.2. Not huge, but hey, it's quite a big buff for Pudge. Dream Quality no longer ignores invisible units or illusions. So it makes it harder to find heroes that use illusions, essentially, because you're going to grab them all instead of just the hero. Item Scepter Dream Quality Snap Stun now pierces Silence Immunity. Spell Immunity, sorry. Now pierces Spell Immunity. Item Scepter Dream Coil and Snap Stun duration increased from 1.5 to 1.5, 3, 4.5. So a little buff at the later levels. Life Drain now can be targeted on allies, allowing partner to drain his own life into them. Makes him a more viable support actually, because he's usually played in like the mid role, but now he can actually heal his allies. That's actually pretty cool. Let's see, base attack time improved from 1.7 to 1.6. Removed unit targeting from Sonic Wave. And Sonic Wave final area effect increased from 300 to 450. So overall a buff, a slight nerf to her ultimate. Other than that, it's actually a buff. Plasma field no longer minimum plasma command damage from 60, 100, 140, 180 to 30, 50, 70, 90. Max is still the same though. Static Link no longer ignores Lincoln Sphere. Static Link mana cost from 20, 30, 40, 50 to 50. Ice Storm no longer lingers through Aegis Reincarnation. So overall a huge nerf to Razor, and I think part of the reason is he was picked so much at TI4. Let's see. Ricky base movement speed reduced by 10. Base damage reduced by 10. Base HP regeneration reduced from 1.5 to the default 0.25. Permanent invisibility is now a basic ability, so you can get this at level 1 if you want. Permanent invisibility fade delay from 321 to 8642. Ooh, that's huge. Permanent invisibility now provides mana regen or HP regen while invisible. Okay, so it breaks his regen when he's not out of invisibility, not when he's real. So you can get dusted, but still have this mana HP regen going. So that's pretty good. Blink Strike is now the ultimate and can target spell immune. Blink Strike bonus damage from 30, 69, 120 to 50, 70, 90. So it's kind of got nerfed. I get why though they made this like the ultimate. So this boy got a buff, but his Blink Strike got a nerf at the last level. Blink Strike now has 3, 4, 5 charges with 30 seconds. So instead of having a cooldown, you can use this like multiple times in a row as long as you have charges for it. So in a way, it's a buff and a nerf because it's got a really long replenish time, but you can use it 5 times in a row. Blank Strike mana cost reduced from 50 to 40, and Blank Strike cast range increased from 700 to 800. Riki kind of got buffed, but he got a few nerfs in here as well. But I say overall it's a buff. Soul Catcher now applies damage by 20, 30, 40, 50 instead of redeal the 20, 30, 40, 50 of damage as pure damage. I feel like it was strong, so that's a nerf. And then Aghanim Scepter Demonic Purge charges increased from 2 to 3. That's actually pretty nice. Shadow Fiend Necromancy Soul Cap increased at the early levels from 12, 20, 28, 36 to 15, 22, 29, 36. So he's a little more powerful during the early game if he can fill up those souls. Reclaim of Souls debuff is now applied when the wave hits units instead of in a slightly smaller area independently. Reclaim of Souls increase from 20% to 25%. Shackles mana cost rebalance from 110, 130, 150, 185 to 140, 150, 160, 170. So at the last level it's a buff, but all the other levels it's a nerf, especially at level 1. That's a huge cost. Is Mass Serpent Ward cooldown increase from 110 to 120, so that's another 10 seconds. Blaze of Wisdom gonna be doing more damage at the later levels from 30, 45, 60, 75 to 30, 48, 66, 84. So that is pure damage, so a lot stronger at the later levels. Still not great at level 1 though. Glow of Silence mana cost increased at the level 2 and 3, but level 1 is the same. It's not huge, but it's a lot of mana still. Because of shot movement, slow rebalance from 40% to 30, 35, 40, 45. So nerf early levels, and then buff the later levels. So that seems like the trend of this patch here. Concussive shot can now be destroyed by blinks. Mystic flare damage is now dealt over 2.2 seconds instead of 2 seconds. So that's a buff to that. Slithering Crush duration increased from 1. So Slithering Crush has been buffed at all levels except the last level. Level 1 the most significant, and then after that doesn't scale as well. Chronosphere no longer reveals Slark and Shadow Dance. Cool. That's a nice buff. Headshot now causes a 0.5 second 100% MS and AS slow instead of a 0.25 second stun. Alright. So his movement speed and attack speeds, he provides movement speed and attack speed slow for 100% instead of 8.25 second stun. So he's less annoying. Shrapnel area of effect increased from 400 to 450. Spectral Dagger movement speed change increased from 5, 9, 14, 18 to 8, 12, 16, 20. So this will help her during the early stages when she needs to get away more often than catching up. But the dagger moves 57 slower. And that's just OCD. Like, it could have been something else. 800 is just OCD, I feel. Charge of Darkness, huge buff to that. It's a 12-second cooldown now instead of the old 35. So this is a huge nerf. Charge of Darkness cooldown is now triggered when charge hits its target or is cancelled instead of when cast. Empowering Haste can now be cast to improve the aura 50% for 6 seconds. 20-second cooldown. After it's used, the aura is 50% weaker while the ability is on cooldown. Okay. I can understand that. So in other words, let's see what it says here. While active Empowering Haste increases from 6, 10, 15 to 9, 15, 21, 27. When on cooldown, Empowering Haste decreases from 6, 10, 14. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be more. You better hope you're done with that fight after the 6 seconds. Greater bash damage from 10, 20, 30, 40 to 22, 28, 34, 40% movement speed. So buff at the early levels this time. Ball of Lightning mana cost per 100 units from 10 plus 1% to 12 plus 0.7. Later on in the game, this is actually going to be a buff, but early on, it's just going to hurt him. But now he can go like. Now he can do the short distances a bit better. Added Aghanim Scepter while activated. God Strength grants an alloyed or 90%. Okay, so it is. Let's see. Spin is here to pump you up. Anyways, so now his ultimate will help his allies, giving them more power. So he's gonna be a lot more viable in team fights. Landmines getting a nice little buff at all levels except the last one. Now you can cast them more often. Stasis Trap, though, getting a nice little nerf. I mean, that was a very long stun for 6 seconds. Now it's just 4 at the final level. Stasis Trap activation area now matches stun area. So now it can now activate a longer ways away just to match its area effect. Stasis Trap duration from... Okay, so instead of scaling how long it'll sit there, now it just sits there for about, what, 6 minutes at all levels. Remote mine duration increased from 8 to 10. Nice little buff there. Remote mine's vision reduced from 900 to 700 though, and remote mine's area from... Trying to understand this. Remote mine's area from... I'm thinking this means like the damage it's gonna do is going to essentially no, it's your cast range, I think. It's either the area effect the damage they do or the cast range you can throw. Not sure which. Alright, so now Batram, Firefly, Visage Familiars, Beast Hawk, Beastmaster's Hawk, Flying Courage no longer trigger or get hurt by landmines. Darn. It was fun to kill couriers with those landmines. Sonic Trap cooldown from 11.97 to 11.85. So nice little buff there to the last 2 levels. Terrorblade is now in Captain's mode. His Thunder cast point has been buffed from half a second to 0.35 seconds. Anger Smash getting a nice little nerf, so he's going to be harder to use in the off lane. From 6% to 45, 50, 55, 60. Timbersaw can now use 2 Chakrams with the Aghanim Scepter. I don't know how good this is going to be. I mean, if he doesn't have the Marriage, it's definitely not going to be worth getting. It's definitely going to be this very situational. And I don't see this being picked up that often. Martian Machines no longer affects foam units. Huge nerf to Tinker. He can no longer take on those Ancients. Or Mud Golems for that matter. Very sad for him. Nature's Guise getting a nice little buff at all levels except at the last one. Its mana cost is now less at level 1 and 30 less at level 1, 20 less at level 2, 10 less at level 3. Aghanim Scepter grants a new ability, Eye of the Forest, which allows Treant to enchant trees to spy on its enemies and expand the area overgrow effects. As in a forest, Treant Protector enchants and target tree. Enchanted trees grant abstract vision if overgrow is cast by a Treant Protector. It's near enchanted. Alright, if the enemy has true sight, they will see visual effects on both the effect tree and the injured area effect around it. Cast range 160, cooldown 65, overgrow bonus damage 135 per second, 3, 4, 5 ticks. Overgrow only does damage it comes from an enchanted tree. Alright. Question becomes, can he cast it from global? For Eyes in the Forest. Like, will Overgrow be global with the Eyes in the Forest? And it doesn't. And how many trees can you have? Wow. I just want to know how many you can have. Let's see. Range rolling axes cooldown from 20. So rolling axes get a nice little buff. Not much. Acquisition range increased from 600 to 800. This affects auto attack range. This now similar to the acquisition works for other ranged heroes. So in other words, like you can move up a bit and start attack. In other words, you'd only start attacking when you were closer than what your range was. So you could actually, so if they moved back, you could actually still hit them for a bit. So now it's actually 800 instead of 600, I believe. Ice Shards are no longer stops when it hits a hero. Ice Shards now travel until the cast location creates a blockade there. Ice Shards cast range increased from 1500 to 1800. Ice Shards no longer destroy trees. Snowball bonus speed per hero increased from 75 to 100. The Meepo train. Allies can now click on Snowball to jump in. Alright, so nice little buff there. Ice is more controllable, but it looks like they're going to be a little harder to hit. Unless you can, like, target heroes. Still with them. 2% area effect increased from 400, 600, 800, 1,000 to 600, 800, 1,000, 1,200. So in other words, you'll be getting zombies in a higher area effect. Aghanim Scepter Flesh Golem damage amplification increased by 5% at all levels, both min and max. Aghanim Scepter minimum damage amplification 10, 15, 20 to 15, 20, 25. Then maximum 30, 35, 40 with the Aghanim Scepter. Okay. Narrow Swap has a higher cast range at level 1 and level 2. Let's see. Not that big, but still pretty nice. Poison Arrow applies its debuff on spell immune enemies now. Still does not damage, but due to its damage type. Alright. Corrosive Skin now only affects enemies within a 1400 area effect. So globals can be used against him now without having to worry about the corrosive skin. Corrosive skin damage cannot be reflected multiple times. Alright. Familiar Stone form cooldown from 30 to 26, so nice little buff to it with his ult. Fatal Bonds now share the same damage type that is dealt to it before it was reduced, so now it can deal physical. Let's see. Now immediately reduce damage with the same original type. You want your reduction. Alright. So it's 20% based on the damage type. So if you have less armor as physical, you're going to take a bit more than you would if it had been reduced by the target that was hit. Golem attack range increased from 100 to 225. That is huge for a melee. For a melee unit. Golem base attack time improved from 1.35 to 1.2. Golem HP duration increased from 1520 to 25 to 1530 45. That's huge at the last two levels. Golem immolation area effect increased from 250 to 300. Golem flaming fist chance reduced from 60 to 40 though. The swarm duration increased from 8, 12, 20 to 14, 16, 18, 20. Sakuchi no longer ignores invisible units. Sakuchi damage reduction from 90, 110, 130, 150 to 70, 100, 125, 150. So a bit of give and take. So it's nerfed early levels, but about the same at later on. Gemini attack can now proc items. So it will now proc like Desolator, MKB, stuff like that. And Gemini and Diffusal Blade, sorry. Gemini attack cooldown increase from 654 2.5 to 654. It's not that huge. It's not. Only 0.5 seconds at the last level. That's just OCD right there. Shackle shot, match lasting distance from 525 to 575. Wind range duration increased from 2.75 to 3.5, 4.255 to 3.456. That's a buff to our little wind runner. Maledict area effect increased from 165 to 180. Death forward bounces now behave the same as death forward attacks with regards to blade mail. Neither redirects damage to Witch Doctor. Reincarnation mana cost increased from 140 to 160. Alright, so it's a bit more than what his stun's going to cost him to do. And stat field area effect increased from 1,000 to 1,200. Alright. So now his stack field's going to be doing a bit more damage to heroes because he can go out further. So that's always nice. Armament Mortar. Alright, now let's get to the items. Armament of Morrigan. Recipe cost is 100 less, so this is a buff to all your pretty much strength heroes that are going to buy this. Also, Heroes no longer displays its debuff on the enemy if the carry is not visible. So, heroes like Ricky, this will be a buff on because he can just go around and they won't know he's there, or Bounty Hunter. Activation spell media duration cooldown are now tied to the hero instead of the item. So, in other words, buying a new Black King bar is not going to refresh it. And then minimum immunity duration increased from 4 to 5. This is a huge nerf overall. Blink Dagger's going to cost you 100 extra gold now. Also, your bloodstone's gonna be pretty much 1500 short or less because now it's gonna get a soul ring, and now this will be huge on heroes like Timbersaw. So now I think he'll be getting the soul ring and then the arcane boots. He'll be getting soul ring instead of arcane boots, so that's gonna be better for him in lane. Probably might want to look at the. I don't know. He won't really need the arcane boots as much anymore, really. So yeah, I think this is a huge buff to hear like Timbersaw that always gets the bloodstone. Model costs 50 more now. Now here's a buff to any heroes that use boots of travel. It's actually better than a TP scroll, so it might be actually worth investing more often. But now it's a 10-second less cooldown. I'm just gonna transfer the teleport scrolls though. Butterfly is now an active ability flare, which can be cast to trade Butterfly's evasion for 20% movement speed for 8 seconds. So this is better chasing ability. Better chasing item, I should say. You can now stack cloak, hood, and pipe magic resistance. Wow. Don't know. There's really no point to get a whole bunch, but that's huge actually. Alright, so let's see. So it's going to cost you a Vanguard buckler and recipe. So essentially a 4,000 gold item. Let's see what it gives you. 250 HP, 6 HP regen, passive damage block, 80% chance for 40 to 20. Blocks 40 to 20 melee range. 5 armor plus 2 all stats. Alright, let's see the actives. Gives nearby ally heroes plus 2 armor and a damage block shell that has 1% a chance to block 50 damage last 9 seconds. Cooldown 70. Gives the wearer a chance to block damage from an incoming attack based on whether the equipped hero is melee or ranged. Nope, guard only affects heroes. Has the same stacking mechanic as pipe of insight mechanism for 70 seconds. Wow. I don't know if it's worth 4,000 gold, but it's a nice place to start. Intelligence bonus per level increase from 13, 15, 17, 19, 21 to 13, 16, 19, 22, 25. Energy burst mana cost increased from 180, 160, 140 to 120, 100 to 180. So this is actually a nerf to Tinker, because now the mana cost no longer decreases. Let's see, recipe cost for Diffusal Blade is 150 cheaper. Agility bonus rebalance from 25.30 to 20.35. So it's actually worth upgrading even sooner. And feedback rebalance from 20.36 to a constant 25. Alright. So now Ethereal Blade, now that it's projectile, in other words, now you can actually like see it coming at you. But it's like really fast, so you have to be like really fast for reaction time. But it's actually dodgeable now instead of instantaneous. Let's see, Ethereal Blade Blast not only turns the caster ethereal if they target themselves. Frost attack speed slow increase from 35 to 45. Pretty cool. Flying Courier, base movement speed increase from 350 to 430, so it's actually hard for like heroes like Nature's Prophet to try to catch on its way back. Flying Courier now takes 50% extra damage from melee heroes. Flying Courier speed burst cooldown increase from 40 to 90. Wow. This is like Courier's getting a huge nerf after that move speed bonus. Flying Courier's speed burst duration reduced from 20 to 4. Flying Courier's speed burst increased from 520 to 650. Courier just got a huge nerf. But it's actually easier to bottle crow with it now. Other than that, it's just hugely nerfed. Let's see. Helmet Dominator gives you 3 HP regeneration. And dominating units will have a 250 bonus HP, which it helps for stacking, and it's kind of like Jhin almost now. Who would find HP regeneration increased by 1 to match its components. Lightning Sphere only blocks Wraith and Nature's initial bounce, no longer the bounces that come after that. Lightning Sphere only blocks Lightning Storm's initial bounce instead of subsequent bounces. So if he doesn't target you, it'll still hit you. Another ward no longer triggers Lightning Sphere. So buffs and nerfs here going around. Lightning Bolt now triggers Lightning Sphere when targeted on the ground. Maelstrom and Mjolnir no longer trigger Lightning Sphere. Let's see. Maelstrom, speaking on which, costs an extra 700 for you to build now. Meta style, mirror image vision, type change from obstructed flying to ground. Alright. Did not know it gave you brief. Used to give you brief unobstructed vision in 1,000 area. Recipe costs reduced from 900 to 800 though, so Maelstrom gets nerfed, Mint Style gets buffed. Mask of Madness recipe costs reduced from 1,900. Void got a bit of nerfs here and there, but this not directly buffs him, because 9 times out of 10 Void will get the Mask of Madness. Mechanism restores mana cost reduced from from 150 to 225. So Mechanism getting a nice little nerf. Let's see, HP regeneration from 8 to 9 to match its components. Hold on a second. What was that? What the heck? Oh, damage high troops. Okay, that's what happened. Ring of Protection gives you an extra armor now. Gold cost increase from 175 to 200 though. Sentry Ward true sight area effect increase from 800 to 850. Shadow Invisibility break increase from 150 to 175. Slight buff to your Shadow Blade. Shiva's Guard freezing aura no longer delays a debuff on enemy carrier if it's not visible. Let's see, time for Skull is 100 cheaper now. 1 second. All right. Uh-oh. There we go, fixed it. Yeah, sorry guys. Anyways, now let's get back into damage types. Let's see, a few abilities and damage type mechanics have been reworked. There are now 3 primary damage types and spells. Immunity piercing status with each. See, physical is affected by physical armor, mag affected by magical damage, resistance, and pierce affected by neither. Maximum immunity has memory and spell immunity. Spell immunity only defines if spells are fit, not how spells damage itself is handled. Black King Bar, Repel, Rage, Error, Points of Magic are now grant spell immunity and stats and 100% magic resistance bonus. In the vast majority of cases, the interactions are still the same. However, an example of the case would be different is the fact that ability has both ability exception and has pure damage type. Previously, the damage would not have any impact, however, now it does. Alright, so by the looks of it, pure damage is going to be going through your Black King bars now. Let's see, if the damage type is not magical, it will be colored differently to make it easier to notice. The same is true in cases where Pierce's spell immunity is yes. There have been a few abilities balanced for these mechanics in mind. In some cases, the intent is to maintain similar balance. In other cases, the adjustment is about the S-spray damage type from composite to physical. Still Pierce's spell immunity, okay. As the spray damage is reduced, why can't you just like say this earlier? 14, 20, 26, 32. Nightmare damage from HP removed to pure. Let's see, X's damage type from positive physical. Yeah, we went over this. Promise Spit or Spirit Pulverized damage type from magical that pierces spell immunity to magical. No longer pierces spell immunity. Okay. Doom damage type change from magical that pierces spell immunity to pure that pierces spell immunity. Doom damage reduced from 30, 50, 70 to 20, 35, 50. Again, why can't you just say this all in earlier? Echo Slime initial attack is now the same magic damage type as the rest of the damage. Initial damage is no longer pierces spell immunity. Nerf to Earthshaker. Midnight Pulse damage type changed from magical that pierces spell immunity to pure that pierces spell immunity. Midnight Pulse damage reduced from 4, 5, 6% to 3, 3.5, 3.75, 4.5, 5.25. Just because it's pure, so it'll do about the same still. Diabolical damage dealt changed from composite to physical. Diabolic edict damage reduced from 12.5, 25 to 9, 18, 27, 36. Diabolic Edict now deals 40% more damage to towers, same roll damage per second as before. The Goo Blade Admin Scepter's damage type from magic that pierces immunity to pure that pierces spell immunity. The Goo Blade Admin Scepter no longer increases damage, only the damage type is changed. Beard Death now deals 10% max health as pure damage instead of 100 to 400 composite damage. Necrophos Heartstopper Aura is now negative regeneration instead of HP removal. Landmine's damage type changed from composite to physical. Pretty sure I went over the damage reduction earlier. Suicide Squad attack damage from composite to physical. So now it's going to be doing 500, 650, 850, 1550. Martial Machine changed. So yeah, no longer pierces magic immunity, spell immunity, I should say. Wave of Terror damage type from HP removal to pure that pierces spell immunity. Fatal Bonds now share same damage type, yes. Fatal Bonds damage percentage actually increased from 2025. Flame Fish damage type from magical that pierces immunity to magical no longer pierces spell immunity. Last Will type from pure to magical still does not pierce spell immunity. Lasso damage increased from 400 to 600 to 550 up to 800. Urn of Shadows changed from HP removal to pure. Additional note: composite damage type has been removed. There are no longer any abilities which use composite. HP removal. This is no longer considered damage type, and its remaining uses are alternate cost to mana for spells to use. Sunray Burning Spheres as a functional HP modification there are considered usage costs in the game as additional changes. Add more detailed in the live combating log streaming available for Dota combat log file convert. Let's see, bots. Add Shell Fiend, Bloodseeker, and Scarif Mage bots. User interface: when the courier receives a deliver order, it will morph into the courier. Let the player that requested delivery. Okay, so the owner can actually log into that. Okay. Net worth graph now includes consumable items. New alt clicks. Alt click clock to print the current game time. Alt click on a ball with a stored ruin will print out the name of the ruin. Don't know why, you should know what it is. Alt click enemy hero abilities to warn your teammate. Alt click the quick buy to say how much gold is needed to buy an item. New chat wheel items. Good game well paid. All good game counts as calling GG in an official game. Good game well played counts as calling GG in an official game as well. What should I buy? Iron retreating. Space created. Oops. Destroy the tower, then get back. Destroy the barracks, then get back. Ward the ruin, bottom ruin. Warn the top ruin. Zeus, alt now. Let's see. Fix the item select dialog that in the loadout not closing if you click shuffle. Fix not being able to remove gems from a ward or HUD with the Artifice Hammer. Fix showcase hero in the Pro Hound not using the correct connect gem animation. Snowball and X mark the spot now respect the disable help setting. Alright, cool. Alright guys, this is the 6.2 patch notes, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, do consider subscribing, or you can watch this on Twitch and follow me there. Thank you everybody, and have a nice day.